this water safe to drink? I'm sure you haven't asked yourself that question, and you would probably answer no. Why? Because people naturally assume that the water coming out of their faucet is safe to drink. That is why I'm here today, to talk to you about safe drinking water from wells. I've been working for Tabernacle Township for the past 12 years, and in the past 10 years, I've been handling all the water contamination problems in our town. That's right, I said water contamination. I have worked with both the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection and the Burlington County Health Department to help the residents in this community resolve their drinking water problems. In Tabernacle and many of our surrounding towns, we rely solely on personal, potable wells to provide drinking water to our homes and families. Most people living in their homes have never tested their water after moving in. In Tabernacle Township, the average resident has lived in their home for over 15 years. I point that out because it wasn't until 2001 that the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection came up with a standard of testing, and it wasn't implemented until the fall of 2002. That standard of testing is called the Private Well Testing Act. These standards set the minimum testing requirements for anyone who is selling their home, and more importantly, any landlord who rents a home or apartment to a tenant. Up to this point, there were no testing requirements for existing wells, only newly constructed wells. A person buying a house only had to worry about basic testing such as nitrates, iron, pH, etc. And this was just to satisfy the requirements for a mortgage company to obtain their loan. Through the years, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection began to find problems. People would buy a house, and eventually they would find things like volatile organics or mercury showing up in their water. Of course, some of these are naturally occurring and others are not. So you would have to backtrack to figure out why and where this came from. The EPA sets the standards and limits for contamination, but the individual states have the ability to regulate and set their own safe water drinking standards. So the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection developed these standards so a person buying a house would have advance notice of what they were getting themselves into, and more importantly, the problem could be fixed prior to buying the house. For renters, they gained protection because the landlord must sample the well and provide the tenant with the results. He must repeat this test every 5 years and furnish the results to the tenant within 30 days of receiving those results. The New Jersey DEP designed the parameters of what needed to be tested around what was showing up throughout the state of New Jersey. Some of the primary parameters that are tested for are volatile organics. These are man-made contaminants. These man-made contaminants may date back decades when it was an acceptable practice to dump waste oil, or gasoline in your backyard. When people were dumping these things, they never dreamed that at some point they may resurface. Unfortunately, they have been surfacing, and it has become a more common occurrence. Although the New Jersey DEP recommends that landlords should test once every 5 years, it is recommended that you test at least once a year. This will help you monitor any situations that may arise with your water supply. Water tables fluctuate with the seasons, and the demand from the aquifer may also change your water supply. What may not have shown up previously could now be migrating towards your well. When you test your water, you should use a state-certified laboratory to test your water sample and to obtain the sample. By using a state-certified lab, you know that they have had to go through the process through the state of New Jersey to be certified, and that they are using testing methods that are accepted by the state. And probably the best reason is that if you use a state-certified lab and there is a problem with your water, the state will provide remediation to your problem. Now, when I say they'll provide remediation, it's only for certain contaminants. The state will cover volatile organics and non-naturally occurring contaminants. However, if your well is testing high for iron or nitrates, that would be a homeowner's responsibility to install a conditioner to fix that problem. The New Jersey DEP has recently changed its remediation guidelines. In the past, there had to be at least 5 homes that tested positive for the same contaminant that was in your well. Then the state would get involved. The new guideline is if only one well shows a contaminant, the state will get involved. So if your well has tested high for mercury, the state DEP will pay to have a water treatment system installed. These water treatment systems are called POETs. That stands for Point of Entry Treatment System. These conditioners treat the water at the point of entry where it enters in from your well. This is a great thing that the DEP is doing for the homeowners, but it also has a downside. The state will pay for the upkeep of the treatment system and the periodic water sampling as long as you own your home, which is great for you. However, once you sell your house, the new property owner has to take over the upkeep of the treatment system and the periodic water testing, which could cost a lot, and it could also become a detriment to selling your property because of the cost of that maintenance. When testing your water for the first time, I recommend testing for all the Private Well Testing Act parameters. Look at your results when they come back. If they are within the limits, then your well is fine. I do recommend a follow-up test yearly. I'm not suggesting all the parameters for the Private Well Testing Act, but what I am suggesting is look around your property. What surrounds you? What was around your property or on the site of your home before it was built? My house was built on farmland, so my concern isn't volatile organics, it's arsenic from pesticides. So yearly, I would test for pH, iron, arsenic, and nitrates. The smaller test is cheaper, and it targets my concerns. If my house was located on Route 206, I would be more concerned with volatile organics due to the gas stations along that corridor. So look around, do a little research, but be aware of the contaminants that you cannot see, smell, or taste. Unfortunately, most of these contaminants can go undiscovered without testing. Do yourself a favor. Test your water so you are not drinking poison. Everything I spoke about today can be viewed online at the websites of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, the South Jersey Water Test, and in the archives of Tabernacle Township, the Burlington County Times, specifically for articles involving water contamination. Does anyone have any questions?
What is the average cost for a well test?
The average test, if you're testing for the Private Well Testing Act, is anywhere between $450 and $650. If you're just doing a smaller test like I recommended as a yearly thing, then it would probably be in the upper 180s to about $250, $300.
Can you trust city water, or could you have that?
City water is tested by the municipality. The state mandates that each municipality have their city water tested because they are also pulling their water from wells. So they have to have their water tested just as you would want to do your own private well. Any other questions?
Yeah, you say if I'm going to sell my house, you say I have to have my water tested, right?
Correct.
If it comes back contaminated, will they cover the new buyer? Will they?
The Department of Environmental Protection will install a POET system, if that's what's called for, in your home, but that'll be installed for you, but the new homeowner that's going to be living there after you would have to maintain that at their own expense. That would not be covered by the state of New Jersey, only the initial installation. Are there any other questions that I can help you with? Thank you so much for attending.